Good evening, Broad Coven. Also, I have this broadcasting over to Parlor Tricks as well. We'll always have the Revolution reports go over in that direction too, to that channel, along with all the other out there stuff I'll be bringing in. I'll be developing that channel a lot more, but I decided, at first I was going to move all of the Revolution reports over to Parlor Tricks, but I really decided I want to keep them on Broad Coven too. So I think they need to be on both channels. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the comments. Hi, Arviva, it's good to see you. I'm going to go ahead and light some Palo Santo because the energy it's interesting out there, isn't it? Ever since we had that full moon come in on the 28th, it's been a really interesting energy in play. And we're definitely in Scorpio season, so there's always a little mystery at this time of year. But there's also some dynamic energies in play, all right? So I wanted to really dive into this live for this week that is really leading us into our 5th week of Panchakarma as a community here on Broad Coven. And it's really in harmony with what we're working through this week, which is how do we make it through that time of transition and trying to figure out what the next step is when we feel like everything's kind of like in this unknown space, or you still feel like you're kind of in the waiting room, or you're waiting for other pieces to line up, which is natural at this time of year, okay, with where we're at. Not just because it's a more mysterious kind of time of year, it's a time that's always interesting when we head into Scorpio season, and it was 2:22 on the clock when I said that, but also because there are, there's these eclipses, okay, and they're wrapping up a really long cycle that really goes quite a ways back, actually. The energies are pretty dynamic. We're dealing with a lot of intensity right now. So what's really interesting at this point is with the eclipse energy, we know there's things we can't see, all right? So we still don't have the full picture. So there can be this sort of pressurized energy, right? You feel like you want to move forward and you can be really eager to move forward, but there's some essential pieces that need to slide into place, all right? So that can create kind of this sort of pressurized energy. And if you're feeling pressurized energy like that, antsy energy, let me tell you, the best thing to do is just move it out of your body, and also move some things in your environment. It's amazing how much just moving a few things around can change the energy around you, can change your perspective. Moving your body, same thing, it gives this feeling of motion. So it's a lot better than just sort of like sitting around on your couch, feeling frustrated, feeling sorry for yourself, diving your hand into a bag of chips or whatever your thing is, you know what I'm saying? There's better ways to kind of work with that energy that can also benefit you in releasing the pressure valve, so you can feel more grounded, more centered. I just got in a really good HIIT workout today after not getting one in for quite a while. I have to say, I've been doing things that have been more low key, things like walks and yoga and just more gentle kind of, movement. And then I really realized, like, you know what, I need to get back into training right now with everything being the way it is, because it's a way for me to really focus my attention and focus my energy, and it makes me feel really supported. It makes me feel really strong. 4:44 on the clock. And so I did a Jane Cates HIIT workout today, and it like kicked my butt, And I realized I lost a little bit of the momentum that I had going there, but that's okay. It comes back pretty quickly. And I felt a lot better afterwards. I just feel like it created more breathing room, because I'm one of those people, I'm really ready to move forward. Like I'm done, processing stuff that, happened back there. I feel like I sat in that waiting room for a long time, and I've done my deep dive into my shadow work. And, you know, I just feel like it's kind of ad nauseum at this point. I'm just ready to get on with it. And I know I'm not the only one. I'm dominantly ruled by air and fire. So that's kind of natural for us. Like, we like to keep it moving. I don't always do the best when it's you know, an earth moon or a water moon. I always feel like the energy's just kind of bogged down. So, you know, now I'm sitting in this space of this energy. I'm like, oh, here we go again. It's that boggy energy. I want to get out of the bog, man. You know, I want to get out of the bog. I just want to get things moving. So today I did that. I just got a real good exercise session in, sweat session. It felt really good. I also started really looking at that Sabian symbol that was suggested by James Burgess that we work with to overcome this energy that came in with the full moon lunar eclipse that was at 5 degrees Taurus. The 5 degrees Taurus aspect is the Sabian symbol of a widow standing over an open grave. So a lot of people are having their final like release of grief, heavy energy come up right now. And the best way to counterbalance that is with working with the 9 degrees Libra Sabian symbol, which is all about 3 masters gathered in an art gallery. And those 3 masters are habituation, mental, and social. All right. So we're looking at how are these things contributing or detracting from what needs to be focused on, and how can we create changes in this situation. And so it's interesting with that coming in right in tandem with the 5th week's lesson and also what's laid out in the courses. All right. So if you haven't checked out the courses yet, they're free. You should check them out. They're at cobrasmedicinebag.com. All the Ayurvedic courses are free there. We're currently working through Vata Seasons course, which is Roots with Wings. And we're also integrating Grace in Crisis, which is an Ayurvedic approach to navigating times of major life transition. And it feels like it's timely for that course. And it marries so beautifully with the Vata course because both target Vata and how can we pacify Vata, bring Vata into balance, calm the nervous system, do the necessary release work, but do it in a very grounded way that doesn't like disconnect us or cause us to move into patterns of disassociation or move too far out into the ether. Oh, that's excellent. I'm going to put that up there because I think that, you know, you bringing this in, Arbivo, I call her Arbivo, but this is the beautiful Jennifer Happy Wright. Been working with Jennifer Happy Wright for a long time and has been a big supporter of my work with Cobra's Medicine Bag too. In fact, you can thank Jennifer Happy Wright. She's one of the people who made it possible for me to be able to offer the free courses just with the way she financially supported me during that time, you know, contributing as I was building those courses out. So OG supporter of mine and dear, dear friend and soul sister, and done Panchakarma with Arbivo too. All right. So yeah, it's a really transformational journey. And I love to see this, that you're using Grace and Crisis to help you get off tequila. That's big. It's big. I'm using it for a whole lot of stuff. This is my first time really traveling through Grace and Crisis with a group, like a larger group on this level. I mean, I've been doing the different Ayurvedic courses, but it's a little bit different of a focus. Yeah, it does work. Yes, you did. You used to fire yourself and now you hire yourself. It's true. It makes a big difference. Panchakarma is very transformational work, but I really like the way Grace and Crisis really sort of brings in a little bit of a different focus that I think is very helpful for right now, right? It's more about how can you make something fit in your life that can still be transformational, but at a time when you may feel like you're stretched to your maximum or you're overwhelmed or it's just hard for you to get out of the bed. Okay. So these things that's real life, right? Sometimes you get blindsided by something. It's a lot to navigate. And you still got to find a way to show up for yourself. That's so important. So it's interesting because one of the things that can provide a lot of stability during a time of heavy transition is routine, you know? And so that's why it's so helpful to look at that master, one of those masters, habituation. What am I doing consistently? What are my habits? What are the things that I keep going back to repeatedly, and understanding that that has a very profound effect. It can be a habit that kind of takes you out of balance, or it can be a habit that actually becomes a grounding point, a landing point. And that's why the Dinacharya is so valuable, just making a real simple routine. Yes, and that's what this week is all about. And it's also about working with routine while also starting to move into the energy of change. All right. So when we're looking at that, that piece, how can I create change when everything feels really overwhelming? And let's say I don't have all the pieces. So how am I supposed to move forward when I got all this antsy energy? One of the best things to do is a really simple practice, and I outline it in the course, but I want to bring it in here because I think it has value. I am going to get a read. I'm going to pull out some cards, and I also cast the I Ching for us, so we're going to talk about that, okay? This is going to be a little bit briefer than it normally is. I know I normally go a long time on these, but I need to get it more condensed because the next couple weeks are really busy for me. I'm bringing in a lot of new stuff at the channel, so I have to be focused. You'll notice I was on time today though, and I'm trying something new. Okay, so that's one of the ways I'm shaking up my habits. I started looking at this piece. I'm journeying through this with you, and I said, okay, let's look at these three masters in the art gallery. How can I be more creative, more innovative in these areas, or do something brand new that I haven't done before? And so, you know, with my lives, I kept trying to go on earlier in the day. It was just really hard for me, and I kept pushing it back. And I want to be consistent. I think consistency is really important for me right now, and it's also an area I struggle with, man. I'll be honest, okay? I like to fly by the seat of my pants. I don't like having too much structure. But I think that structure is a really good grounding point right now, and it has a lot of value for Vata. And definitely my Vata needs balance. It needs balancing, so it's good. And this isn't coffee today. I'm not doing the coffee talking tarot. I'm doing let's see, I got a rose tulsi tea in a ginger cinnamon tea base. I like sliced up a bunch of ginger root and put some cinnamon in there for sweetness, and added a little rose tulsi tea bag in there. It's good, actually. It's really tasty. I've been enjoying it. Feels good. It's very good. Tulsi tea is excellent. Okay, so it's such a good adaptogen. So if you're dealing with a lot of stress in your life, or you're in that place where maybe you're juggling a lot of things, trying to keep a lot of things balanced, and you're in that pressurized space because you're finding it sort of like an uphill battle at this time, Tulsi is excellent. Ashwagandha is excellent too. Ashwagandha is really safe for, most situations, but you do always want to check with your physician, okay? I recommend you look into it if you're drawn to it. It's very helpful, okay? It's a root, and it makes you feel very rooted. It's good adaptogen. It helps the body combat stress. It gives you energy, vigor, power, strength. It means strong like horse. And the horse totem has been coming in for me so much that I think it's really like coming through as a very strong root ally at this time, ashwagandha. All right, so do check with your doctor though, especially if you have any pre-existing conditions. Make sure there's no contraindications for any medications you're on, anything like that. Everything I bring in here, okay, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm merely sharing information with you. It's really up to you to do your research and kind of like figure out if that fits with your life, okay? But definitely, if ashwagandha is calling you, look into it. All right, you can usually do like safely. I like to work with powdered ashwagandha. You get it bulk. Capsules are kind of like they're not as easily absorbed. And if you add a little raw honey, a little cinnamon, or you put it in a base of a nice chai, a nice herbal chai, maybe with a little bit of coconut cream in there or something. I mean, it tastes good. There's nothing about the flavor of it that is off-putting. And you can do like a teaspoon in there, up to like 4 times a day, really you could. And it's great for the nerves. It gives you a lot of energy, but it's not a buzzy energy. It's a more grounded, really solid energy. And it just helps your body combat stress. Okay. So it's nice. It's like grounded. And it also gives you a lot of vigor. So this is something that can be beneficial. All right. So look into that. That just wanted to come in. Okay. But these are things that we can do. We can look at our habits. You know, my habit has been coffee, right? That's one of my habits is, you know, how can I make that a little bit better? Well, today I started, you know, doing a little bit more dirty chai. And now instead of having, you know, another cup of coffee, I'm doing the rose tulsi tea. Okay. So it starts with very simple things like that. And when you get to experience the difference, this is how people tend to be. It's like, you don't have to go full on into the deep end. In fact, if you're already in a difficult time where you're navigating a lot of stuff and you already feel stressed, you don't want to go in and change your whole life overnight, because then you're only going to stress yourself out more, right? So it just makes a lot more sense to make some small changes, just start to shift things a little bit. And that's how you're working with your habituation to kind of like shake things up and do something new. It doesn't need to be dramatic, but it can have a really big bang on result. Okay, so don't think of it as major. All right, so something fun that you can do. I think it's fun, and it really does have an effect. And it shows you that, you know, just when you start to kind of like just break your routine even a little bit, or change your environment even just a teeny bit, how it can have such a really powerful effect on how your life starts to kind of like play out at this point. Okay. So one thing you can do is just experiment with this. I encourage you to experiment with this. All right. It's a little exercise. I already started to do it today, and I really feel a difference. All right. It's in the course, but if you're not, you know, following along with the courses, and you don't have to, okay, you can just drop in here for the lives. This is something you can apply really simply, and you can start to move the energy in your life, and it will actually start to change your circumstances. Okay. So it can help get the stuck unstuck. It can open your road and get things moving again every day this week. Okay. For a solid week, just practice it. Just be open to it. See what happens. It's a way to shake up your routine. It's a way to kind of like work creatively with that master of habituation. Okay. Every day for 7 days straight, move 10 things in your home to a different location, or even get rid of some of those things if you like. You know, if you're going to get rid of those things, really consider, you know, have I used this in the past year, you know, or do I hold on to this for some kind of sentimental reason that maybe is something that's just kind of keeping a sort of like place card in my life that keeps me attached to something. Could I maybe box it up, you know, and put it away? Is it kind of keeping me stuck or keeping me tethered to a certain energy that maybe it's time to release myself from, right? Because that's the energy we're working with. This lunar cycle is all about letting go and releasing. And certainly it's that time of year, you know, we're still in this space of, oh, you did it. Yeah, good. I did it too. I started to move a lot of things, and I was like, yeah, you know, it's interesting how it has an effect. Like it's such a little teeny thing, right? It's such a little teeny thing, but you start to notice the energy shifting inside of you too. So, you know, if you got a lot of, you know, pictures up of, you know, a time in your life when, you know, maybe at that point they're happy memories, but maybe now you're in a process where you're trying to let something go, you know, in connection to this time in your life. It can kind of just keep you tethered to that time. So you don't have to throw those things away by any means, but it might be helpful, right? If you like box things up and, you know, move them out into the garage for a bit, you know, until you're in a different space where you might be able to bring those things out again if you want. You may not want to bring them out, okay? You never know. But just moving 10 things in your environment, it breaks up the monotony, it breaks up the routine, and it changes the energy. And it doesn't just change the energy in your environment, it also changes your internal energy. All right, so that's a real simple way that you can kind of, you know, just shift things around just a little bit to start to get the energy moving. And it's really in harmony with the I Ching that we got this week, okay? So opening up this week, we got 41, sun, decrease, all right? So we're in a time of decrease right now, all right? And this is because there's been some kind of sudden release of tension, okay? So maybe you spoke a truth, or you took an action. It was something that maybe you'd held back on doing for a long time for one reason or another. And this caused some kind of like shakeup, all right? It caused some kind of need to sort of like pull the energy back, all right? Because the judgment is, so through sudden release of tension, something is sure to be lost, right? Something is sure to be lost. So if you think of it this way, if you've held in grief for a long time, or if you've held in anger for a long time, or you've held in frustration for a long time, when you finally let it out, you let it go, suddenly it's like, oh, wait a minute. Now the whole landscape has changed because now this is out there. It's not stuck inside anymore. And anything that is out there will also have the subsequent result of a turning within energy associated with it, because we're always working within this realm of opposite. So what was inside is now outside. And now this kind of gives you a pull to go back within to recalibrate a little bit, because now you're probably dealing with the reaction in your environment, or the shift in your environment from something you held in for a long time. If it's pressurized, it really changes the landscape of your life. And it also really affects your relationships, right? We've got that social piece coming in, one of the masters there. It also really changes your mentality, right? Because now there's a whole new different set of circumstances to acclimate yourself to. So this is what requires you to kind of like go back, okay? So the action that we need at this time with this particular hexagram, and I'm happy to say it is not unchanging. So we did have a moving line. The second line was moving, which is excellent. The second line moving is actually a correct placement, okay? It's correct for that second line to be yielding, to be a yin line. So this is positive. We know that we spoke some truth, or we took some action to change the landscape for us moving forward, all right? And now this is causing us to move into a place of evaluation, because now everything's going to be different. Everything's going to be changing. What was back there ain't going to be the same. Now you know you're heading into new territory. You're not quite sure what it looks like yet. We know that because we're in this, like, you know, eclipse phase right now. So there's a lot that still remains to be seen. Plus, other people are also adapting to these changes as well. That, you know, it's a domino effect. That's what happens, okay? So you may feel right now like nothing's happening. You may be frustrated because you want answers, or you want things to just, like, you know, fall in place immediately. But that can't happen, because there needs to be this piece where you kind of pull the energy inward for a moment, okay, to recalibrate and to get in touch with, you know, the foundation and how you need to move forward in light of this new development, even as you're waiting for the other pieces outside of you to fall into place. It doesn't matter, because we always have to return to the self, right? We also have to understand that there's a direct correlation. Whatever is happening in here is reflective of what's happening out there, okay? So let's say that you are finding yourself in a position where things are a little bit nutso out there. You know, you're not liking what you're seeing reflected back at you. Okay, well, there's still something here for you to learn from. And what's often misunderstood about a time of decrease is that decrease is often needed for there to be increase, okay? And there's a couple different ways that you can look at that, all right? So decrease can mean that you are moving about something in the wrong way, and so you're being put on pause for a moment, and so you can turn your energy inward, and you can reflect for a moment, and you can recalibrate. and you have an opportunity to think about, maybe, do I need to go about things in a new way? Or is there something here that I need to see that I haven't seen before and I need to get a different perspective on it? Or did I just go through something major because I'm the one who spoke the truth or took the action, and now I'm like, whoa, whew, okay, that was a lot, you know, and it can be like that, you know, when you've held something in for a long time, or you've withheld from taking a certain action for a long time. When you finally do, it can really sort of like destabilize you temporarily, all right? So there can be a need to decrease, make yourself smaller by kind of pulling your energy back and creating more space, more breathing room to just sort of get settled on this new inner terrain now that you've freed up all that energy, all right? It's like getting your sea legs, right? What was once, you know, operating on the unconscious level has become conscious. So that's a whole new inner terrain to acclimate to, all right? You can't even really initially worry about how other people are reacting to your choices, your truth, because it's sort of like it's more, there's no separation really, okay? There's no separation really, because we have to remember this, that anything that's happening out there is there to reflect something back to us, an understanding, an awareness maybe that we didn't have before, and also this piece of responsibility. You know, I always have the unconditional ability to respond. I don't need to react, okay? And you might be dealing with charged situations in some cases. I mean, the astrology really does support it. If that's the case, even better to kind of like pull back, make oneself smaller, to get into this place where you're not being pulled externally and your choices aren't being navigated by something outside of you, but instead you can kind of come back into your own compass rose and really, you know, get yourself set on the course that feels right and in harmony with you at this time, okay? So it's kind of like letting what's been churned up sort of like settle, okay? So you can see things clearly, and also waiting for the light to turn on in the room, for that curtain to come up, okay? We're not going to hit that point yet. We got to wait. We got to wait until the new moon comes in. When the new moon comes in, and that new moon will kind of like, you know, turn the lights on a little bit, right? It'll like illuminate some things for us, right? It starts a new, fresh, new cycle. But really, when we hit the Gemini full moon, that's when we're going to be at a place where it's going to be like, okay, now we got it. That's when the communication clicks, okay? And when we're looking at communication, because Gemini rules over communication, we're not just looking at communication from others, although this is when things will start moving. It's when you start connecting dots, you start connecting with others. What was held back starts to come in. Now the pieces are starting to fit, things are starting to click. But it's also the way you're communicating with yourself. It's also the way you're getting a direct link to spirit or higher consciousness, or however you relate to that, okay? Getting your downloads and really getting centered on where your next steps, you know, are going to be taken, what direction they're heading in, right? So that comes in later. Let me think. What is the date that comes in? I want to say it's on the 27th is when the Gemini full moon comes in. And then very significantly after that is when you're going to be taking a bold action. And that's when the new moon comes in Sagittarius. That's when you're going to shoot your shot, man. And it's going to be a really powerful close to the year. Okay. And we're going to head into this light building phase, this quickening phase. So this is sort of like, it's a moment of pause, but it's a moment of pause that doesn't feel relaxing necessarily, because the energy has this desire to move forward. The energy is like kind of pent up. And that's why it's so necessary to not just sit there. Okay. Still work with the energy of movement, but you got to work with it in a more constructive way that won't like have you shooting yourself in the foot, because it's not time to shoot that shot yet. Not when you can't see the whole lay of the land. When there's things that need to be filled in for you to have a clear understanding, You need to hold off and focus on the basics. Focus on your habits, habituation. Focus on what is serving you socially and what's not. You know, what people really make you feel supported, what people make you feel empowered, and what people kind of drag your energy down. Maybe nurture connections that are more deeply meaningful at this time would be really helpful, as opposed to focusing so much energy on just kind of like more superficial contacts, okay? Actually dropping in with people, getting face-to-face time, or if you're at a distance from each other, you know, hopping on a video call or hopping on the phone so you can really hear that person, connect with that person. These things are really important at this time. It's about cutting away the superfluous, you know, and just making more room for what really matters at the end of the day, what grounds you, what gives you a sense of rootedness. This is so important. And also, you know, in the grace and crisis course, we talk about having that support person, you know, that you can drop in with, somebody you really feel connected to, that is able to and is willing to and has the bandwidth to hold that, you know, space for you too. And maybe you can hold that space for each other in some cases, just depending on what you're dealing with and how capable you feel of feel that you can do that, okay? Of course, without resentment. So all of these pieces are coming in, all right? What's really important to remember at this time while you're in this space is that if you can do this, okay, and start getting creative with moving the energy without taking any bold actions, you can still have progression in your life, okay? So if you start moving 10 things in your environment, then it might make certain things click for you, like, oh, you know what? When I moved that over there, I realized that I can actually set up a little workstation over there, and that would make me a lot more productive with, you know, working on this project that I'm working on, you know. It just starts to kind of like open your mind to new things. It's amazing when you start to use your house almost like a vision board, okay, as a template. And this is significant because with the moving line we had for some decrease in the second position, it changes the hexagram into yi, nourishing vision. All right. So this is when we are now working with the energy where if we can just move a few things and maybe start moving our bodies, changing our habits, changing the way we spend our time socially, changing our minds, you know, changing the ways that we talk to ourselves, looking at our thoughts, you know, what are our thoughts like? Understanding that whatever is happening internally will eventually manifest externally. Okay, so that's what yi, nourishing vision, is all about. It's about understanding that we are responsible for what we're seeing out there. So the energy is really wild, right? We got this hexagram that's about the energy pulling in, okay? And at the same time, it's reflecting to us because of the moving line we have in the second position, that through this reflection, we're meant to understand that the thoughts we're holding are going to become things that will become that expansion that we move into. Because we know it's a fact. This is how nature operates. Whatever is decreased will increase. And so you should think of it in this way. Let's say you've really been operating at a deficiency for a long time. Let's say you've been going through a long stretch where it's just been one thing after another. You feel like everything's been uphill battle. Nothing's come easy. You're not progressing in the way you think you should. And, you know, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person, and it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. People really need to understand this, that sometimes decrease is necessary. Sometimes decrease is necessary for your success and your progress. Sometimes you're being decreased because you're connected to something that is decreasing you. This could be a connection that you have that you're loyal to, but that is actually not something that's beneficial for you. This could be something you're actively engaged in on a day-to-day basis, some kind of habit, some type of vice, some type of addiction. That's actually the thing that's holding you back from having the increase you want to see in your life, all right? This could be some viewpoint you have. This could be a perspective you have. This could be a limitation. It could be a pattern. It could be old trauma. It's that old grief you're still holding on to, that you're dragging behind you. Sometimes decrease is necessary because there's something that you are actively engaged in that is actually the thing that is holding you back. And you won't get it until you've been decreased for so long and stuck for so long that you start to go, wait a minute. And you start connecting the dots and you realize, you know what? Ever since I started doing this, I've been running into this problem. Or ever since I changed this particular habit, I've been noticing this has been going on. And you start to understand through self-reflection, oh, wait a minute. I have some things I need to change here. Okay? Sometimes you're just straight up connected to dead weight. I mean, let's get real. A lot of you are realizing that we're closing up significant karmic cycles right now. Where we're going is brand new. All right? And even if you're going to be going there with somebody that you're reconnecting with, like, it's brand new. It ain't what happened back there. Everybody needs to get this memo big time. Everybody on the face of the earth has been going through major transformation. It's because the earth is going through major transformation. So you can't expect it to be any different. Yeah, look at this. Strength. Okay? Strength is what comes out here. And I love this image that they're using here. It almost looks, it looks very ceremonial to me. Very ceremonial. It reminds me of the shamans when they, you know, embody different animal totems by wearing costumes. This is what it reminds me almost of, a mask of the lion. Okay. Leo energy here. All right. This deck, it is associated with the number 11. So we know maybe you're coming into alignment with somebody that you were involved with in the past, or something from the past is coming back around that you're meant to balance out. There's a new understanding that needs to come forward here. There's some kind of illumination that comes from the past. It's a new way of seeing the past. Also understanding something here is elevated, okay? A higher consciousness has come into this situation for both people. So if you know that you grew, okay, and you've gone through some kind of really powerful growth process since you've been in contact with this person, you also have to give them that benefit of the doubt that maybe there's something that's been illuminated for them too. All right. So this is really understanding that sometimes there can't be increase until we decrease things that are outdated, okay, that no longer serve a purpose. And for some of you, that may be the old view. It doesn't apply anymore. And that can be a blockage, okay? So this is why it's very important at this time to work with that 9 degrees Libra Sabian symbol to sort of like break that energy of being overly attached to grief and wallowing and the melancholy and the overly nostalgic energy that came in with the 5 degrees Taurus, a widow standing over an open grave. You know, it's like the casket's lowered, all right? The earth is about to be put on it. Like, it's really time to understand and accept that some things are released because they're the very thing that was the obstacle on our path, okay? And some of you have been out there, you've been praying for your breakthrough, or you've been praying for your come up, or you've been praying for the road to open, you've been praying for this relief or this love or whatever it is that you're wanting, this success. And you've been asking for this fervently, and yet you're frustrated and you're angry and you're out there, you know, shaking your fists at the sky, and you're like, why? You know, why am I going through this? Why is this relationship falling apart? Or why did I lose my job? Or why am I dealing with this conflict with this person? And it's because it's what you asked for. It's what you asked for. You know? Nobody said change is always smooth, and maybe sometimes it needs a rough edge, okay? Because it requires you to develop a certain quality to rise to a certain challenge. And there's some kind of medicine you get from that. It may require you to step into your power. It may require you for the first time in your life to draw a boundary line, all right? It may require you to say no more, you know, or I'm going to go and I'm going to get into a recovery program, or I'm going to, you know, let go of this unhealthy relationship, or maybe I'm going to just try to be single for a while on my own and learn what that's like, instead of feeling like I have to jump from, you know, one relationship to another. Maybe I'm going to get to know myself, or maybe I'm going to explore this new spiritual path, or my creativity, or I'm going to break the mold. I'm going to be the first person that really, you know, follows my vision, follows my dream. I'm going to go after it, man. I'm going to go after that business I want to, you know, start for myself. Maybe you're the first one in your family. Okay. So all of these things are really big steps, and they can have sort of an effect that can be destabilizing as you move in that direction. It's not meant to frighten you from the path. It's more to cultivate, you know, a certain quality in you that allows you to have the strength to really step in this direction, okay? We know that whatever you let go allows you to discover what is rightfully yours, what is meant to align with you at this time, right? Do you have the strength to see that? It's also very in alignment, this whole shamanic piece that came in for me, with a certain imagery that's associated with this hexagram 41, some decrease. And that's that decrease is the only way to increase. So if you're really bemoaning that and you really feel that you're just losing so much, you have to understand, if you're losing a lot, you might be gaining something really big. You know, nature does abhor a vacuum. And you should be very mindful right now with this hexagram changing into yi nourishment. You need to think about, what are you filling that vacuum with? Okay, so think about how you're reacting to what you're having to release right now. Are you doing it begrudgingly? Are you clinging to it? Are you getting really angry? Are you feeling vengeful? Are you stirring up conflict, drama? Okay, these kind of things let you know what that vacuum is going to be filled with for your future. Do you really want to create that? You probably don't. This is why recalibration is needed, okay? You got to get a little bit higher consciousness. You know, I like how the lion is looking up, you know, looking up toward that third eye, turning the attention inward and getting a different kind of focus, instead of focusing outwardly, focusing within to let the vision come through, you know? Just taking that moment to pause, okay? We know that there will be increase. You won't always be in this space where it feels like nothing's happening, or you're just having to let things go. Conservation law of physics, you know, perfectly demonstrates this. And the conservation law of physics is the sum total of matter and energy in the universe cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed, you know, just like particles collide and transform energy into mass. What is unobservable can still exist in unseen form. So just because you don't see the change yet, or you don't see what is going to come and fill that space, does not mean that it's not already there. It is. And you can affect how it manifests by the thoughts you're holding within you at this time. So meditation can be helpful, all right? But if you have antsy energy, meditation and motion may be more beneficial for you, all right? Getting out there, taking a walk, you know, taking your feelings on a walk, you know, let yourself process your feelings while you're in motion, or maybe, you know, getting in a good workout like I did today, and allowing that to be sort of the channel that you funnel these feelings through, so you can let them out, right? Create that vacuum. Let there be that decrease, okay? Do you understand? It's like, as you start to release these emotions, as you start to speak your truth, as you start to allow what was held within and pressurized to come up and out, you're creating a vacuum. That means, oh, wow, now you have space to receive something new in there, instead of this, you know, pent up, frustrated energy you've been holding inside. So this is good. This is good. I want to give you some examples of how this could kind of play out in daily life. Let's say you're struggling in a relationship, okay? This might look like giving something up, okay, in order to come back into balance with somebody. Now, could this mean another relationship? Possibly. Could this mean that you need to give up maybe a stuck viewpoint, a position that you refused to budge on before? Sure. Could it be a habit that is something that just is really like activating for the other person that's not too hard for you to change if you can just like understand that sometimes we need to meet each other halfway, okay? There's a lot of different ways and on different levels that could play out, from something very minor to something very major, as in somebody's got a problem with addiction and they need to get into recovery, and that's a non-negotiable in order to make that relationship work. So this is the way that sun decrease can play out. It's like, yes, it looks like a loss on the surface, but there's actually gain that comes from it. Accord comes from it. Getting on the same page comes from it. Healing comes from it, all right? How could this potentially look in business? A lot of times businesses will use a time of decrease, like low sales, nothing happening, as a way to create further increase, all right? So they understand that, okay, so this is an opportunity for a little reinvention, maybe reworking things, maybe a little rebranding, maybe looking at different streams of income that can be created. Or maybe there's something that needs to be tweaked here. Do we need to do something in a new way? Are we working with an old model that just doesn't work anymore? How can we add fresh, new, enthusiasm into this, or shake things up a bit? And then you find that through that process, it's like, oh my gosh, this works so much better than it ever did. And wow, now sales are really up, okay? So you have to understand that inherent within decrease is increase automatically. And same thing with increase, okay? You go through a time of big success, that's great, it's like, it's just a peak, all right? There will always be a valley that follows that. And it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It's just a natural thing. This is the way that life functions. So it's also about cultivating this understanding that allows us to be present. Yes, we're just at the very beginning here. We have Page of Cups. And I like this, because it's sort of like, look at this here. There's like this box here. And it's giving me that feeling of maybe looking at the emotions, looking at the emotions one more time before, kind of boxing up certain mementos, certain things that are maybe just like holding an energy charge that is it's just a constant physical reminder in your environment. So it doesn't allow you to really look at things in a new way or get a different view. You might not realize it until you kind of like box these things up and put them away. This is also kind of, for some reason, this is also reminding me of like a television set, like old school television set. So it's like something's outdated here, where there's a lot of sentimentality to it or attachment to it. And in some cases, this can be that connections just change, right? And maybe a connection served a purpose at one time, or maybe it was close at one point, but something's really fundamentally shifted. This doesn't have to be a negative thing either, all right? And maybe there's times when connections drift apart and they come back again down the road, or maybe it's a long pause, maybe it's a brief pause. You never know, okay? So this is about kind of looking at the emotions, getting a little self-reflection. And it's also a time to sort of pour into yourself here. And in pouring into yourself, you come to better understand what is the energy that you have to offer, all right? Sometimes we put our energy outward too much. We need to replenish, okay? If your cup is empty, it needs to be filled, all right? But it first begins with you filling it. So if you're feeling this sense of decrease, it's important for you to really look at, how can I meet these needs? How can I show up and pour into myself? So understand the beauty that's in decrease too. When it seems like there's not really a lot going on, it offers an opportunity to become full from other sources, all right? From your spiritual focus, from your creativity, from giving yourself time for integration, self-reflection. If everything was constantly about the outward motion, all of this would pass you by. And it's a fundamental piece of the journey, not only for recalibration purposes, but also just to integrate your lessons. Like you're going through such a big time of karmic shift, okay? Water sign energy, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, and we are in Scorpio season, okay? And this Pluto energy is really front and center. I mean, we're going to have Cal Garrison on the 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we're going to be talking all about the Scorpio archetype and how that energy is playing out. It is really like kind of packing an extra punch at this time. And we know with Scorpio, we're dealing with the mysterious. We're dealing with that which is often kind of cloaked or hidden in the dark. But there's also like a lot of richness there too, okay? So where things seem heavy or where they seem concealed, you know, there's also this piece of cultivating a little optimism. You know, just because something is getting pulled back or decreased doesn't mean that the end result is ultimately negative. It could be the best thing that ever happened to you, and you just don't realize it yet. But your inner landscape, the mental, remember, that's one of the masters. Your habits, the habituation, the mental, how you're viewing things, the thoughts you hold, what you're telling yourself, that's an active part of creation. So it's time to really look at what's going on. What thoughts am I thinking? What am I telling myself? What am I speaking into existence? This is super important because you got a vacuum going on right now. And if you're in this place where you're constantly, like, let's say you're gossiping or you're bitching to people about something that happened with so-and-so, or you're caught up in some kind of drama, this is what you're filling that vacuum with. You're actively bringing more of this into your future. So if you already find yourself in this space, okay, and that's what's caused loss in your life, now is a good time to go, all right, what would give me fulfillment from here? And this is sort of what this Page of Cups is doing. I almost see it's like scrying, looking at the emotions, but using them as a source to scry the future. Like, okay, if I don't bring emotional balance into this area, or if I don't start moving in harmony with what's authentically true for myself, then I'm going to create, you know, the same kind of turbulence in my future. I don't want to do that. So this is about really getting in touch with what will fill my cup. And if you don't know, you may not. That's a good place to start. Do you see how saying, I don't know, I don't know what will fulfill me? It's powerful, okay? Because it's not fixed. It's not controlling. We got to move out of the control, because decrease demands that we let go. It demands that we let go so we discover what is rightfully ours. As soon as we let go, the path starts to rise up to meet us. But we can't have that forward progression if we're too fixed. We'll find it a struggle, and we'll create more gridlock moving forward. So this is really potent. You know, I like how this comes in. And I do think, I love this, that it's in tandem with, you know, the outline for the course and what we're moving through right now about just having that simple practice. It's a sadhana, okay? It's a simple practice. You can use it to get rid of the clutter. You can use it to get rid of all things. I mean, if you throw stuff away, that's counted as moving 10 things, you know, throw 10 things away. If you box them up and just sort of put them aside, you don't have to throw them away, but maybe just get them out of your current view, okay? So you can get a fresh perspective. You'll be amazed how different it starts to, you know, make you feel internally. How much your thoughts start to change when you have like sort of like a different view in your environment, in your home environment. Maybe it means you donate these things. Okay, but your decrease, you're giving these things away, increases something for somebody else that's beneficial, which also creates space for something, new to come in for you, and at the same time brings in some good feelings too. You know, well, I'm giving this up, but it helps somebody else out. All right. And maybe you can give it to people that you know could benefit from what you're letting go. All right. Physical things in your environment. It could just be redecorating. Just, you know, moving things around so they work better for you. And that kind of brings in that habituation piece, right? I found a long time ago, it's a really simple practice. Okay. This is another way you can work with this habituation thing on a physical level, and it really changes things. If you're used to waking up and stepping out on the same side of the bed every morning, try stepping out on the other side of the bed. Now, if you sleep with somebody, that can be kind of tricky. If you guys are really, you know, if you're really wanting to like shake things up, maybe you're dealing with a relationship challenge. I don't know. This could be kind of interesting. Maybe you're dealing with a relationship challenge, or maybe you haven't felt like, you know, being intimate with each other. Maybe something just feels like it's kind of like gridlocked between the two of you. What if you swapped sides of the bed? I mean, that could really shift things. That could be interesting. Okay. It's amazing how just doing something different, getting a little different, you know, routine going, you know, shifting your usual routine can start to move the energy. And certainly, like I was saying, exercise can help bring in a new view. But this piece seems to be important, you know? And with the cups there, that energy, it's making me think of maybe you're trying to like let go of something and you have a lot of emotional attachment to it, but you got too many reminders of it around you right now that are actually making it very difficult for you to sort of like get even a different thought process running through your head, because every time you look around you, this thing is there up in your face. It could be a picture, it could be a memento, you know, something that was given to you. Okay, so be mindful of these things. You don't have to throw them away, but right now might not be the best time, you know, to be focusing on that. Maybe start focusing on something new. Maybe bring a new piece of art into your environment, or, you know, just shift things around. Maybe shift your view. Maybe you sit at a certain seat and look out a certain window, you know, shift your view. Sit in a different chair, sit in a different room, get a different view, or go and sit outside, you know. Things like this really do shift the energy, but it will bring in this Two of Wands, all right? This Two of Wands energy that, again, it's kind of like a scrying energy. I see this like glass ball there, where it just reminds me of just having a source of reflection, something you can look at that gives you a different view for how you can move forward, right? Very beneficial. All right. So this is kind of the focus this week. You know, I like this saying that came through in relation to moving into the yi energy, the nourishing energy, which is already the situation is changing. Okay, so we know that we're heading into a cycle of nourishment. Okay, it's not going to be that much longer. All right, so this decrease is in the process of coming to an end. Right, and the new direction is preparing to come in. It's not going to be much longer. And I love this. It says, the master said, things are sometimes increased by being diminished, and at other times are diminished by being added to. So think about that. You know, what things are you taking on, or what is just sort of taking up space in your life, or what are you just doing just because it's a habit? Or, you know, again, we're looking to really shake up that energy. We're looking to shake up the structures we put in place so we can start to move more into this creative flow. It is the energy that's coming in. But in order to move within that creativity, we need a new foundation to build it on, because the old structure is being dismantled. And that's why everybody's kind of having challenges at this time. So let's see, what is this new view that comes in for the collective this week as they start to just take some little steps to move things in their environment and change their view a bit, or maybe develop some new habits as they, you know, respect the letting go. This is really kind of potent too. One of the things that gets mentioned in Soon Decrease for the 41st hexagram is that it can be really helpful to give some kind of offering in a ceremonial vessel. Now, when that came in, I automatically thought of like a cauldron or something that you can get a fire going in. It could be a fireplace, it could be a fire pit, and that this could be, you know, a really good way to offer up things that you're releasing. I brought in a ritual that I learned from my friend Space Witch on the live I just did, where you take little pieces of a snake shed, okay, from a shed skin, and you think about the things that you're ready to shed and release, and you just burn it. You know, you can offer up some herbs. There's a lot of ways you can do that. You can do it with bay leaf too, okay? Just create a ritual of your own. You can write it all out and then burn the letter, okay? There's many different ways you can work with that. Some of you may be more drawn to work with water element in that way. You know, you might want to take some flowers and just really put all your love and all your emotions and all your sorrow and everything you're feeling into these flowers, and then release them to a flowing body of water. If you release them to the ocean, that can be very cleansing and purifying, and you're just returning something to source, okay, to be released, and then trust the flow of your life and where it's going to carry you, okay? So having these kind of rituals when we're in this process of letting go can be very potent. It can be very powerful, but it also makes me think of the energy in play right now, where we just had Halloween, and today we entered Dias de los Muertos, okay? So there's many traditions all across the globe at this time that's about honoring the ancestors, those who came before us. So this might also be a time when looking back to the past and being in that more internal, reflective place can actually really help you bring increase into your future, you know? So you might want to touch base with that ancestral energy and maybe create a ritual that connects you with your ancestors more. It can even be just like switching things up to the extent where maybe you've never dropped in with your ancestors. That would be something that could really shift your daily routine. What if you added that? Just beginning your day, just talking to your ancestors, getting in touch with that energy, or researching if you don't know, okay? So all of these pieces coming in, that's a way you can go backwards and actually find progression, right? It's like the more you find out about where you come from, who you are, then you gain certain strengths, you gain certain understanding of yourself that gives you like a new foundation to build your future upon, right? And a lot of medicine comes through too. So we have this card here, King of Cups. Interesting. Like, look at the water sign energy, very forward. This is really about emotional mastery is what comes through for me when I think of the King of Cups. And what does emotional mastery look like? Emotional mastery means that you don't necessarily view grief as something that's negative. It's something that's natural. Release, loss, letting go, grief. This is also within this process, there's the seeds of your healing. There's the seeds of restoration. There's the seeds of renewal. So somebody who's reached a place of emotional mastery can sit within the discomfort and can create this sort of reverent space around the emotions that are coming up, letting the tears flow, and viewing that release as actually something really positive, like, oh, you know, haven't you ever had that experience? Like you had a really good cry. It's like, oh gosh, yeah, I mean, it's tender, it hurts, but at the same time, it feels so good, right? To just not be holding it in so much anymore. And then once you kind of like wring it all out, yeah, maybe you do feel a little empty, right? You feel that decrease. You feel just like bare for a few days. You may feel raw for a few days. Well, you know, fill your cup. Give yourself some self-care, rub some cream on it. As Yay Louisa Tish would say, just give yourself some really nice abhyangas, take some really beautiful, nurturing mineral baths, soak and flow and, smooth the way by just rubbing some oil on yourself. It's amazing how much it helps. Be extra kind to yourself. Let yourself turn within. Let yourself take a nap. Make yourself a real nice, nourishing meal. Think about what will really fulfill me right now. I feel empty. What would fill me right now that I can provide for myself, that I can create for myself? There's something also that's very empowering about that. That's also part of emotional mastery, is understanding that when we're looking at responsibility, you always have unconditional ability to respond to your own needs. And maybe you've gotten too used to looking outside of yourself, like, I need this to fulfill me, and I need that to fulfill me, and I need to have this person do that to fulfill me. And meanwhile, it's been here all along. The source of your fulfillment has been here all along. It's about you taking responsibility for fulfilling yourself. And as you start to fill yourself up, that shifts the outer reality. Now you find that you have connections that when you pour into them, they pour into you too. Do you understand? Decrease is not always a negative thing. So you're alone, okay? Why are you alone? Well, maybe you let go of some stuff that was decreasing you. Maybe you let go of some people who were just taking from you. Maybe you let go of some people who put you down all the time. Maybe you let go of an abusive situation. Maybe you let go of a destructive cycle, or a group of friends, or some type of activity that you were involved in that kept you operating on a level that was not right, not in alignment with you, not in integrity. And at first you cut that off, you feel very alone, right? You feel alone. And you feel confused maybe too, like, who am I now? And everything feels all shaken up and you're not sure what's going to come through, but you start thinking, okay, well, I got needs. I'm feeling certain things here, man. I got needs. How can I meet my needs? How can I pour into myself? And maybe it feels awkward to pour into yourself. And that's beneficial too, to understand that, right? That's looking at the mental. Well, why does it feel awkward for me to pour into myself? Why does it feel strange for me to meet my needs? Maybe some of you come across this and you feel like, well, I need support. A support group can be very helpful. If you're dealing with any kind of, recovery process, if there's alcoholism in your family, if you grew up in a family where alcoholism was an issue, chances are pretty high that there's some sense of codependency running the story, okay? It's nothing to be ashamed of. You can go and find a support group. They're free. You can find support groups that are online too, a support forum, all right? Maybe you're not ready to take that step. That's okay. You can reach out, on a support group online anonymously. Okay. So there's a lot of different resources, but Al-Anon is great for that. Okay. So this is about, really looking at how can I meet my needs? And as you start to meet your needs, this beautiful thing happens. You come into this place of emotional mastery and you realize, oh, like, the brokenness isn't a bad thing. Like, sometimes things need to break. Sometimes there needs to be this breaking open. Stop looking at it as broken. It's broken open so that what was clouding the light within you can now burst out of you and it can light your way forward. It's not always about having a broken heart. Your heart's not broken. It was cracked open. It was cracked open, so a certain truth that you've held inside of it for too long, or something that has really been a driving force for you at one time in your life that maybe got shamed into darkness and held down and kept in this place of submission, is now wild and free, because that's what it means when you come into the love inside of yourself. You get lit up. There's this wild, free part of you that takes over, and it's disruptive, but it's beautiful too. You know, transformation can be messy, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's creative. And it's all about your perspective and how you work with it. But if you start using this as a template that, okay, whatever's going on out there, it's meant to show me something about where I'm putting my focus. And I need to be mindful about that. So let's say that is what you're noticing. There's a bunch of negativity, there's a bunch of drama, and you're starting to notice it's disrupting your thoughts, and you're feeling agitated, you're feeling depressed, you're feeling angry, you're feeling all these things. And then things just seem to be getting worse and worse and worse. All right, your focus is in the wrong place. You've got to address the mental. And it probably has something to do with habituation. All right, because you keep looking at something. That could be anything from, keep looking at the screen. You're too sucked into what's going on online. That could be repeatedly, scrolling through Facebook, social media, and so you're just constantly taking in this programming, and it's totally tainting your view. This can be watching too much doom and gloom, watching the evening news, having to keep track on everything. This can be taking in a bunch of gossip mongering stuff. It's all over, man. I mean, it's all over on YouTube too. It's just like the latest tea on this person, that person. I mean, we don't really understand until we get like a little space to really take the time to consider how we're focusing our time, our energy, our attention, that we actually are responsible for this kind of view we got of the world outside of us. It's what we're taking in that is affecting what we're seeing without. And once we can get this piece and really understand that mirroring, that's when we have emotional mastery. Because we start considering, well, wait a minute, I don't want that. So let me start to focus my energy on what does fulfill me. You know what? Maybe I don't need to watch the news every single night. I mean, it's good to be aware of what's going on in the world, but you don't need to be like, just so sucked into it that that's all you can see is what's wrong in the world. Because the more that we all focus on what's wrong, the more that it can't get right. Instead, you could be looking at other things like, oh, how can I start a grassroots movement, man? And maybe it starts with me. Yeah, I'm outraged about that. Okay, how can I put something in motion that makes me feel like, I'm taking a constructive step in my own life in the right direction? There's lots of different ways that could play out, okay? You all will have a different way you'll arrive at it. For some of you, that may mean like, wow, maybe I need to start a blog, Maybe I need to start putting my voice out there. Maybe I need to start a YouTube channel. Maybe I have something I want to bring forward. Maybe you just realize you've been, focusing too much on, stuff that's just depressing you, keeping you down. Hey, you know what? I've been meaning to get back to, doing my knitting. You know what I'm saying? You could start diverting your time from that to something you actually enjoy, that fulfills you, that you've been meaning to do. I'm in the process of that right now. I'm getting back to, I want to get back to my real set time to practice my guitar, man. I want to get back to playing again. And I sidelined it because a lot of stuff's happened, and sometimes you get caught up in the changes that are happening in your life, and then you get fractured and you forget about what you need to really nourish you, right? So respect this time of decrease because you're about to increase. And it's important that you're really mindful of what you're about to fill that void with, okay? look to your inner reality and obtain this, you know, emotional mastery where you know how to sit with your feelings and not be overwhelmed by them because you hold respectful space around them. And what you need to keep intimate, you know, you keep intimate and you have good boundaries around it. And you stand up for those boundaries and you give yourself the time and space that you need, you know, before you're ready to move forward, okay? Until your next step is clear. You let what's been, you know, kind of stirred up settle so you can have that clarity. And there's this beautiful thing when you really come into your own emotional truth and you're tapped into your intuition, and now you don't feel like you got to look to things outside of yourself to help guide you forward, because now you're in the flow. You're tapped in. Everything just happens so much easier once you're tapped in and you're flowing with your life according to the inner authority, the inner directive, you know, what's guiding you internally as opposed to externally. It changes everything, right? Even as something as simple as how you eat. You know, if you pay attention to how you're feeling with the foods you're eating, the more you focus on the feeling, the more there's healing. It's really true. It's because if you keep doing something over and over again, whether it's what you're eating or some negative habit you have or some addiction you have or some relationship you have, if you keep paying attention to how you're feeling instead of what your head's saying or what other people's opinions are, you know, or what you think you should do, and you're getting all locked into that belief construct stuff, your belief systems, or as Robert Anton Wilson calls it, your BS, you know, don't believe the hype, you know, get in your body, feel. How does it feel? How does it feel when you get drunk? Ultimately, okay? Maybe you enjoy it in the moment. Maybe it helps you kind of disconnect from what you feel in that moment. How does it feel after? You got to look at the whole experience. You know what the payoff is. That part's important too. Like, especially if we're dealing with anything where it's a repeat habit, like, gosh, every time I hang out with this person, I feel like crap afterwards because X, Y, Z. And yet you keep hanging out with that person. So in some way it's working for you. And that's the piece you got to look at. How does it work for you? Does it give you somebody to kind of like vent all your stuff on? You can blame that person. Then you can kind of like take it outside of yourself. You don't have to take responsibility. Okay? It can be a lot of different things. Or maybe you get some kind of payoff, some kind of advantage, you know, a material advantage or an opportunity. And so you're kind of just having these fake connections with people because, well, this makes this easier for me. But all that's going to bring you is more fake experiences to fill the void, right? When you let that go, if you're still kind of operating on this level where you're not really looking at your emotional piece, what you feel, how you show up emotionally, what's authentically true for you, and living from that place of emotional authenticity, you know, that can really throw a spanner in the works. It's nothing that's being generated outside of yourself. It's what's going on within you, you know? And it's not a shame thing at all, because everybody is going through this process on some level. And every human being deals with this at some point on their path. So we all go through this stuff. And it doesn't have to be an absolute, because healing does happen and things shift and people grow, you know? Things can change. Nothing's static. Change is the constant, you know? And we need to remember that, okay? Crossing influence, we got Page of Coins. Right? So this is about learning. Learning. Small steps, you know? Taking a small step to go, okay, I'm invested in this growth process. I'm invested in learning something new about myself. Okay, I'm willing to take a little step. It's something. It's an investment. I'm willing to head in a new direction. It's just the beginning, and there's a lot to learn with the Page of Pentacles. Right? We don't have all the answers. And sometimes things that start out very humbly, right, grow into something very grand, right? And we know, even with, you know, even when we're looking at something like a tree, or we're looking at like a plant, like sometimes pruning is necessary to encourage further growth. So this is just a part of nature. And if we can stay in a place of emotional mastery, then we understand this. It's okay. I'm entering a new learning cycle, and it's okay. And it's okay to have loss, and it's okay to have these feelings. But the point is to let them flow, not hold them static, you know, because then nothing is able to actually come back in to fill where there's loss, right? And keep ourselves on kind of a repeat cycle. I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck here. And then I want to get out one of the Halloween oracles for us as an overarching theme. 8 of coins. You know, this is the work right now. And look at this. I love this. It's like this piece almost looks like it's been taken out of this box. So we know the framework's been disrupted, right? Now you're looking at, okay, what am I going to do with this? You just got one piece, right? You got one piece of your puzzle. You can't see the whole picture yet, but you're on your way there. As soon as you start to recognize that this decrease doesn't have to be a bad thing, it's an opportunity to come into authentic alignment. And I hold a responsibility in that. And my responsibility is I need to start looking at things in a new way. I need to do things differently because the energy is not the same anymore. The old cycle's done, something's being balanced out, and new energy is coming in. So I have to move forward in a way that's fitting for the time, to be in accord with the time, right? So we know that this will grow, okay? 8 of coins means there's something to work with here. And you may feel like right now, well, I don't have much to work with, but you got something, all right? You got something. There's an opportunity here, and that's a beautiful thing. What's on the other side? The Hierophant. I love this. Look at this. The Hierophant in this deck is taking the lid off the box. It's like opening Pandora's box. But I also like this because it's like, look at all the light that's coming through there. So it's like, again, get outside of the box, right? It's by getting outside of the box, getting outside of this like framework into the space where it feels a little messy, because yeah, chaos is at play, but chaos is the creative force. That's how we bring the light in. You cannot birth a star without there being some chaos. That's how the light gets through. All right. Chaos doesn't have to be negative. It's how you view it. It's how you look at it. You can look at it through the perspective of the old structure and think, oh no, everything's falling apart. Everything's out of control. This is horrible because things aren't the way I thought that they would be. And now everything's a big mess. And you can be very fatalistic. And then you're going to create yourself more of the same for your future, because that's what you're focusing on. You're focusing on the brokenness instead of looking at it this way, going, this is interesting. I got this doohickey here. Like, what can I do with this? I know it's not much, but it's what I got. So you got to work with what you got. And maybe you can get really creative with this. Maybe you can figure out something you never would have thought of before. You know, that's the thing. People underestimate that. It's like when you don't got a lot to work with, you really do have to get creative, right? Any of us who've ever, you know, those of us who grew up in poverty, I did, okay? And I've definitely gone through struggles since 2020. You know, a lot of us have, right? You learn how to innovate. You learn how to adapt. You learn how to look at things in a new way. All right, I don't have much, but how can I make this work? Or how can I make this stretch? Or how can I pull something out of this? How can I pull a rabbit out of the hat? You absolutely can. And there's going to be an opportunity to do just that, right? It's coming in. You are going to take a bold action in a new direction with that Sagittarius new moon on December 12th. That is really like, that's the pop-off point, man. By that Gemini full moon, which is the descendant sign for Sagittarius, you are really going to have like, it's going to be bright, okay? Nothing's going to be in the dark anymore. You're definitely going to know where you're going. And so at that point, it's just about taking the action, like following through. I mean, there's always a choice. There's free will. You can stay stuck. You can continue to do the same old thing. But all I have to say is, you know, we have to understand that those who stay stuck will get left behind. The energy is moving into expansion. The energy is moving into a revolutionary kind of energy. That's what the dawning of the age of Aquarius is about. Capricorn's here to like help us, you know, kind of get used to this sort of like butting heads with the power structures and learning how we can stabilize that as we're moving into this expansion, because it's not always going to be smooth. It's going to be rocky at points. Yeah, that new moon in Sag will come in on December 12th. December is going to be a really important month, a big month. It's when things really get rerouted. On the 26th, there's a full moon to close out the year. And that final full moon, I forget what sign it's in. Cancer. It's in Cancer. That's going to be, you know, when we really finally, oh, right after your birthday. Yeah. That full moon is going to come in the day after Christmas. And it's really going to be a time when you know where you're meant to be, who you're meant to be with, the work you're meant to be doing, whatever that big question mark is for you, you'll have your answer. You do have your moon in Cancer. And it's also, you know, when we think of Cancer too, we think of mama, right? So we think of that nurturing, that, you know, that replenishment comes in, you know, you get filled up, you find that sense of home, like this is where I belong, this is what I need to be doing, this is who I'm supposed to be with, whatever it is for you. It's different for everybody, you know, it's playing out in different areas of your life, but that's when you'll have it figured out. That's your date with destiny. You should probably like circle that date on your calendar, or, you know, set a little reminder for yourself just so you know to pay attention what's coming through at that time. Where you are right now is going to be completely different when you get to that point. But first, we're moving through this. The Ten of Swords, right? It's the ending of the old cycle, and it ain't easy. And a lot of you are dealing with feelings of betrayal, being stabbed in the back, or maybe you dealt with really harsh, brutal endings, you know. Some of you are really going through it, man. The Pluto energy is heavy, 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 man. It's heavy, okay? And it's going to get heavier. You know, it's one of the reasons why Cal wants to bring it in. And I do think it's helpful. I do think there's ways to navigate it, though, okay? So don't let it overwhelm you, because it's just what needs to be confronted so we can break on through to the other side. We can't break through the other side if we don't confront it. Yeah, look at this. I love this. I love this. This is perfect, okay? Because what's right behind it? We got the Wheel of Fortune here. And I don't know why I'm getting this with this Wheel of Fortune, but with the way there's like these different spheres kind of rotating, you know what it's reminding me of? It's reminding me of like when you flip a coin, okay? Is it going to be heads or tails, you know? Oh, and just as I said that, I threw this card back and I didn't realize I threw it back in reverse. So interesting. Well, we know that, you know, this is turning around. So once you let this go, you get a turn of fortune. It moves you forward. Oh, wow, look at that. And what does it bring in? It brings in 9 of Cups. Okay, so it brings in that fulfillment, that personal fulfillment. I like this dude's face. He looks really happy. This looks like somebody's setting up for a sound healing session. Okay, so sound healing could be really helpful for you right now. Sound baths, right? Singing bowls. You might want to bring some of that energy into your environment. Hertz frequencies. Let's just go ahead and get an overarching theme here, and then I'll close this out. If anybody has any questions that it's moving through the course material, or any experiences you want to share right now, would be a good time while I'm shuffling for this card. So you're going to sound healing tomorrow. Nice. You're going to play. Are you starting to get into actually hosting sound healing sessions? I like healing vibrations here. on YouTube. They're excellent for sound baths. And they recently did a full moon sound bath. 3-hour sound bath. Nice, Star Tree Dancer. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I want to sink into a sound bath. There's one that just got put out by Healing Vibrations for the recent full moon lunar eclipse we had. And I haven't listened yet. But I think I want to drop in with it. I think it'll be helpful, just sort of kind of like harmonizing those energies. Oh, your friend's coming over with bowls. That's lovely. Yeah, I miss my bowl. I haven't been with my bowl in a while. All right, bottom of the deck, energy. Skull of flowers. It's in reverse, though. Creating through the ashes, okay? So see, this is the piece you need to pay attention to. I don't know, with it in reverse, for some reason, it's making me think of like, you know, it's making me think of diving deep down, you know, like tapping the roots. Like maybe your ancestors want to bring some piece of creativity through for you. All right. Maybe ask your ancestors to inspire you creatively and just see what happens. Ooh, rattles. I love rattles. I've been really drawn to rattles lately. Rattles are great for breaking up heavy energy too. They're good when you're going through like emotional clearing, you know, if you've got like a lot of stuck energy in your body. Let's say like maybe you feel like you're kind of like holding stuff in your heart center and anahata, but you're having a hard time breaking through it. You can like rattle over that area of your body and it can really help like break up congestion. It's very powerful, actually. Yeah, it's time to kind of like get outside the box. I love this. Look at howling at the moon energy. Maybe you should do some moon bathing, you know. Moon bathing can be very balancing for the yin quality. It can put you in a more receptive space. It can be very harmonizing in that way. This is all about, you know, exploring wildness. Yeah, you know, it's time to think outside the box. You know, let yourself be a little bit more free and exploratory, you know. Yeah, stuff may be unknown, but they're also wide open. So again, broaden your view. You know, it's about looking at things in a new way. Oh, wanting to make a rattle for a long time. I know somebody that would go and they would harvest, you know, the seaweed, the kelp that has the big bulbs. I forget what kind of seaweed that is. They would harvest it and they would dry it out and do whatever curing they had to do with it. I can't remember the process they would go through, but they would turn them into rattles. Really beautiful. Is to say, it really helps me. I have one I made for myself in a workshop and also clear spaces with my community rattle I made from. Yes, absolutely. Oh, you met an ancestor last night. Beautiful. Anasazi. Nice. I love this. Okay. Bowl kelp. Thank you. Yes. Nice. Very nice. Elk hide. Ooh. I don't have a rattle. My rattles are all back in California. I will retrieve them at some point. At some point, I will retrieve my ritual items and also my guitar. I miss Luigi, my acoustic, my seagull. I want to get it back. I really miss that guitar. I love Papi Chulo. I love the guitar I got here. I love my hollow body electric, but I really do miss that single guitar. I felt very attached to Luigi, and he's been away from me for too long. So, all right, that was just the bottom of the deck. So let's see here. Let's see what wants to come in as an overarching theme for us. Yeah, the ancestral piece has been rocking my world. I don't have a drum. You know what I want? I want one of those frame drums. I go off with those. I love those. You know, I've wanted one of those for so long. That's my jam. I want drum and rattles more than anything. I love to work with them ritually. I love to, you know, work with them to keep the beat for journeying and stuff like that. Oh, what? No way. Are you serious? You're sending me one? Oh my gosh. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Like, yes, I graciously received that. Oh, what a beautiful gift. I love you too. Thank you so much. What a beautiful gift. Oh, I'll bring it in here. Bum, 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 bum. I'll bring in the drums here. You see? That's beautiful. Thank you so much. What a blessing. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That's so generous. What a beautiful gift. I got like sentience. That makes me so happy. That makes my ancestors happy too. I've really missed that. I have like so many like rattles, and I had a lightning maker too. I had a lightning maker back home as well, and I love all those like percussive instruments. They're so good for energy clearing, and I love to use them in panchakarma work. Yep. Rain sticks are really nice too. They're great for nourishing, for like calling in nourishing, to just put the end of the rain stick on a chakra center and just let those, seeds fall into, it's just like it totally invokes like that water element pouring in, and it breaks up the resistance, but in a more gentle way. Yeah, you like it was just like this cylindrical thing with this like wire, and you could shake it and it sounded like thunder and lightning. Well, it doesn't lightning doesn't really sound. I don't know why I called it a lightning maker. Maybe because it invoked that energy for me of the lightning, it's like because it has this like wire that shakes, reminds me of like the conductor energy, but it's the rumbling, and I love a good storm. Storms are clearing, storms are clearing. So infinite possibilities, goal of stars. All right, I keep looking at the bottom of the deck as I've been shuffling here. So yes, we know that though we're closing an old cycle, like the future's wide open. There's infinite possibilities. It's still a lightning maker because it has that wire that shakes outside of it. But yes, it's probably more a thunder maker. But I call it the lightning maker, maybe because it invokes that spirit for me. I always would use it whenever I felt like a lot of tension in my body and I just needed to get it out. I would shake the lightning maker. I felt like it like got that energy out of me, and I delighted in the sound of it as well. I don't know if everybody else did, but I did. I'll have to find one. I'll have to look one up, find one, and order one when I get a chance to do that. Okay, let's see here. What's the overarching theme? I love how that piece came in, though, working with the percussion instruments. It's really potent. But yes, they're great for breaking up energy. All right. Come on, overarching theme. One overarching theme. Oh, how beautiful. Here we go. Night song. Hidden talents. And I just said, ask your ancestors to inspire something creative in you. And here comes the totem for spirit communication with those who have passed on, bringing messages of joy and love and blessing and hope. Okay, so this is so beautiful for the cardinal energy to come in. And I'm really stoked because I have quite a few cardinals that show up in the yard back here, male and female, flying around, and they're just so special. There's something so special when you see those males come in, the red feathers. They're just so striking and so sweet and so beautiful. They remind me of fairy a lot. But yes, we definitely have this time that we're in right now where, the veil is really thin, and it's a time when we can drop in really deeply. And I almost feel like, I don't know if you're tapping into this, but I've been feeling it. It feels like the window is sort of extended this year. I've been feeling that for a while, though. Like, it feels like Halloween actually came early. Like Samhain arrived on the scene early. It didn't just happen. Like, it's been going on since the summertime. It feels like there's been this long stretch of kind of like moving through that energy, you know, that more submerged kind of energy, that Scorpio energy. And it's very, I mean, we did have Scorpio in the South Node for quite a long spell, and Pluto's been front and center. So there's been a lot happening with Pluto. A lot's been happening subterraneanly, you know. So I feel like that veil's been thin for quite a while, but it's really interesting. I'm almost feeling, I thought I was going to do all this like ritual release work last night, and I discovered like, no, that's not what I feel like doing right now. I just feel like resting. But now I'm feeling really called, like as it's starting to head more into Scorpio season, like now I'm really wanting to bring in more of that release work. And I think that the more that we can kind of connect in this way and give meaning and definition to the things that we're releasing and letting go by creating our own sense of reverence around it, honoring around it, so that we can truly make peace with it and release it in a way that, you know, is clean, and also recognizes that no matter what you're dealing with or how heavy it is or how harsh it is, there's still something beautiful that comes out of it, even if it's just you finally finding the strength and the courage to reclaim your freedom. All right. So acknowledge the process and maybe do some exploring of, you know, healing and release through tapping into some of your talents. Maybe through this process, you're going to get in touch with some hidden talents that you didn't know that you had. And maybe you've been curious about exploring something, like maybe you have it. We brought in knitting earlier, so maybe you've always wanted to learn how to knit, but you haven't been doing that because you've been spending, you know, hours a day on social media. Well, maybe you'll change your habits a little bit and go, you know what? I think instead I'm going to watch some educational videos on how to knit. And I'm going to invest in some yarn and, you know, my needles, and I'm going to teach myself how to knit. And then you realize like, whoa, I really know how to knit some beautiful things. And then before you know it, it leads to a whole new direction that you never anticipated yourself going in. Soon you're like knitting dresses and, you know, you're a fashion designer. Like, you never know what could happen. But I feel like there's some kind of hidden talents that's awakening within you. I feel like a lot of people at this time are starting to develop certain intuitive talents. Certain clairs are coming forward and they're getting used to tapping into this energy. That message has been coming in quite a bit. But one thing's for certain, you know, move through this energy creatively, and do remember that whatever you're struggling with, whatever you're having a hard time releasing, whatever you're grieving so hard and you're feeling like, well, this was as good as it was going to get and now it's gone. Some people may be having that experience. You know, just invite in this perspective that the loss that you're grieving so hard may have been the very thing that was holding you back. And you might not see that now, but down the road, you'll be grateful. You'll be grateful that you had to let that go back there, because who you're becoming is just so much more. All right. So just be open. Just be open to what comes through. All right. I think that that's good for tonight. I need to make some food. I need to get some grub on. I'm working on all these things. I'm switching up my habits. I'm changing things around. One of my goals is with the lives, at least the 2 lives during the week on tomorrow too. Okay, so on Wednesday and Thursday is when I've been doing the lives. The Thursday live is over on Cobra's Medicine Bag for the Panchakarma stuff. For those who struggle with food and body image issues, I decided that I'm going to do them in the evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm going to see how that works, because I've been doing them in the morning and it's been really hard for me to like make it happen, and then it's all over the map. And I really want to challenge myself to just show up on time and be present, and, you know, not have to keep reschedule. And that's going to be easier support for others as well. You know, I've been rocking and rolling with transitions too. So it's always interesting to be in this position when you're kind of, it's like, hey, I'm part of the collective as well. I'm also navigating this energy, but I'm really kind of calling myself to the mat with what's coming forward in the work we're doing here. And I'm like, I need to look at my habituation. I've already addressed a lot of my social. I've been addressing my mental. I need some more work on that too, you know. But I'm really looking at my habituation as the main area where I need work right now. And I need to just really just get solid with it. So yeah, I think I made it on time today. I'm going to make it on time tomorrow. Okay. And then on Saturday, I think I'll do 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that would make it what? 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay. For the Saturday live. And that feels good because I like to get it done earlier in the day so I can like take off for my days off. All right. But I got a lot I'm going to be bringing in on the channel here abroad coming. Also, you know, on all the channels, actually. I know I got a lot going on, but I want to get a bunch of like reads out and stuff. So I'm going to be really active with the readings here over the next few days. So look for that coming in. And a lot of stuff coming in the first couple weeks of November. And I'm in go mode. I'm in beast mode. So I'm definitely working with the Pluto in Capricorn energy, and I'm paying mind to this piece about you really developing some new habits and getting things moving. And I hope you do too. And I hope you give yourself an opportunity to see how when you start getting focused on this stuff, you know, like the nuts and bolts, the foundational, how much it makes everything else in your life start to click into place where you thought you were held back, you really weren't. It's just a matter of redirecting the energy in a way that it can be productive and progressive. Okay. So thank you too. Thank you for all of you that showed up. Replay will remain up. And yeah, use this time to your advantage because it's the seeds of your increase, all right? And those tables are about to turn. We are getting to the end of it, the last little bit. So set yourself up to create something beautiful moving forward. And thank you to all of you. Thank you to all the supporters. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for all the growth of the channel. And I did put up on the community board the signs that will be receiving the bonus read. That'll come out this week. I'm also bringing in a bonus read for all of you who have donated, okay, specifically. You're going to get your own collective read, which is a small collective, so it's going to be a lot more specific for you all, more personal read. I just wanted to do that for all of you just to say thank you for donating. It really does help. And if you haven't subscribed, you know, consider subscribing just to stay up to date on what's happening here and be part of something a little progressive. You know, I'm hoping we can really create a lot of, you know, a lot of interaction that is about, you know, innovative ways forward, ways we can bring our energy forward as a community to kind of create a different online experience that can actually be part of, hopefully someday, you know, grows into a whole movement and that you all carry forward in your own lives and it spreads, you know, that's the ultimate goal. So we'll see what happens here, but all I know is we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep growing. And thank you for being a part of it and for being so foundational in the growth of the channel. I really appreciate all of you. And I'll be back tomorrow. Take care.